flushed cheeks. I would imagine that would look something like this. Look at the chart. Look at the chart. Ask the goddamn doctor. I'm sick enough for him. Dad trucks the keys into my shirt pocket, together with a green parking lot stub. Hold these for your mother. A6. Don't forget. Mom was ready to explode. Her lips pressed together in a tight seal, and she tries to drag the pillow out from under her legs. She opens her mouth to say something, but all that comes out is air. It is as if she has just run a long race and lost. She tries to sit up. She tries to sit up the rest of the way to get out of bed, but she's tangled in the sheet, trapped on her back. Get the hell out of here. Mom's voice is rough, hard-edged. Her body twisted. Her body twists on the mattress. I can tell she hates to be helpless when dad's so indifferent. He watches her as though she's just some stranger. It's not going to work this time. Just give up. You give it up. You. I don't give nothing up. Dad touches my arm. Go on now. I have to talk to Christine. Mom is furious, maddened by the snarled bedclothes. One of her rings hooks in a flaw of the sheet, and she tries to rip it free. But the material is too rough, too tough. But the material is too tough. I'll call you, Dad says, and points a long finger at my chest. Go back to your little black girl, then. That's the mom. Hold on. Go back to your little black girl, then, Mom shouts. Forget us. Forget us. Who needs you anyway? She collapsed into the pillows, threw her arms over her face, then stops all movement. She's listening, waiting. She expects Dad to apologize like he always does when things go this far. She's pulled her ace from the hole and bet her whole pot. Dad watches for a second, then quietly backs out of the door. His jaw is set. His wide-curved lips are hard. His half-closed eyes look as if they're painted on his face. And I would imagine that may look something like this. The two other sick women in the room are awake, and as alert and interested as if they are watching TV. They are old ladies straight off the reservation, their eyes bright and full of gossip, although their bodies are fed with tubes. I can read their thoughts. That little Indian woman, I don't know what tribe, with a big black man and a child? A too tall girl. She looks like him. They are delighted. They have a story to tell if their children visit that's more interesting than rough white doctors and Indian nurses with boyfriend problems. They look from the door to me, to Mom on the bed, and then back at each other. Mom's breathing is rain in the night, breathing on the windows and blowing the curtains. I don't want to be here when she peeks and discovers Dad's gone. So I leave too, heading for the stairs, away from the elevators where he might be waiting to explain himself on a slow ride to the first floor. I open the exit and take the first flight, up instead of down. I'm not ready to go home. Without Mom, the apartment is like a closet packed with our rented furniture. Without her there, I hear voices I have never otherwise noticed and smell food the neighbors are cooking. I listen to the broken TV and eat standing at the table. In the last year, Mom has become a regular customer at Indian Health Service. Most of her ailments surface in the middle of the night. She wakes wheezing from too much party or from passing out on top of the covers, and the next thing she's back in the ward for tests. The first day in, she calls for a priest, though she's never gone to church. She says she's entitled to the last rites, that it's part of being in the hospital, that she's earned it by making the 9 first Fridays when she was a kid. The doctors tell her if she doesn't slow down, she's going to shoot her. If she doesn't slow down, she's going to shoot her liver, but she won't take care of herself. It's just the way I am, she says. She claims she is indestructible. When she gets home, ready to celebrate the return of feeling good, she tells people she's been to Mexico, that she's a new woman. Not that she fools anybody. Most of them don't care one way or the other, except for Mom's best friend, Charlene, who works at the hospital pharmacy and lives in our building. Whenever we see Mom dressed to go out on the town, she makes some joke about medicine. I hear they're giving prescriptions out cheap to the Silver Bullet, she said the last time. Mom just rolled her eyes at Charlene, reminding her to act as if I don't understand what they're talking about. Don't kid yourself, Christine. The human body can only take so much punishment. Punishment? I love it. Mom sparkled her eyes, and with her fingers formed a tight curl in the center of her forehead. And now, here she is, back in the hospital again. The corridors are quiet for the night. On the top floor, a few people in green uniforms pass without noticing me. I could be invisible. For a place full of sick people, it's too silent. You'd think the patients would let the world know their troubles, that they'd moan and sigh or yell out. But the ones I see, the open doors of their rooms, just lie gazing into space as though they're already dead. I take the down elevator. Dad will be long gone by now, or wherever he goes, or whoever. Mom said a little black girl, but Mom said a little black girl, but that's what she's accused of him of 100 times before. We're the wrong color for each other, I hear my mom tell him a long time ago. That's what your friends think. We may be different shades, but look at the blend. Dad's voice had been low, almost singing. He probably wasn't talking about me, but he might have been, since my skin was a combination of theirs. Once, in a hardware store, I found each of our exact shades of paint mix tone chart. Wait a minute. Once in a hardware store, I found each of our exact shades on a paint mix tone chart. Mom was almond joy, Dad was burnt clay, and I was maple walnut. The lobby is deserted, but I know my way around. I follow the yellow line that leads to my room. I follow the yellow line that leads to the room filled with vending machines. Now that I understand what's going on, I don't blame Mom for using the car as bait. I have tried things on Dad too, before I became no fool. Tears, good grades, writing letters, getting him presents. At first, every one of them seemed to do the trick. He'd smile or send me a postcard or promise to call tomorrow, and then weeks would pass. One time I even hung around on the route he was delivering. I cut school and stood on the corner at 10 o'clock in the morning, listening for the bark of dogs and the sound in the morning. Listening to the bark of dogs and the banging porch mailboxes. I had it all pictured in my mind. He would be walking along, his head down, storing the letters, and wouldn't notice me until he looked up across the street. Then he'd do a double take, grin, and he'd say he didn't believe it. He'd invite me to share his bologna. I guess that's bologna. His bologna. He'd invite me to share his bologna and cheese under a shade tree, and people passing in cars would smile at us. A father and a daughter who looked so much alike, having their lunch too early in the morning just because they enjoyed being together. But Dad was a temp, and that meant his track was unpredictable. When the mailman finally came that day, it was a mean-looking woman with red hair and Mary tattooed on her knuckles. The snack room is empty, and I buy an ice cream sandwich for dinner. It's so cold that the wrapper is frozen to the cookie part, and I have to pick around the scraps off the end of my tongue after each bite. I get a drink from the water fountain and wipe my mouth with a paper towel. I think of stopping in to see if Charlene is still in the pharmacy, but it's after 5, and she's on the 8 to 4 shift. I take a side door into the parking lot and head across to the bus stop. There are plenty of streetlights burning and not many cars. I pass A6, and it doesn't take much more than the Volar missing one tail light in the employees only zone, straighting 2 spaces, and there, big as life, in a fat candy slipper from the hospital, trying to jimmy